Pharaoh and the shadow fell. It is ruled by 8 queens, 2 for each of the cardinal directions: the queens of the south, the queens of the north, the queens of the east and west. They each serve a different god or goddess, and some of them are benign, some of them are not malevolent, but certainly severe, and some of them are flat out feral. It's very difficult to tell which is which. They rule by consensus more than anything else. They hold an audience in their court for anyone who has anything that they need to consult the queens about. And generally, the land itself is peaceful, although there are always tensions, especially from the Shadow Fell, as malignant forces attempt to cross the barrier and reclaim this halfway land. It's a beautiful land, always sort of between dawn and dusk. At dawn and dusk, there are beautiful moments when sunlight glitters in different colors. And the land itself shows these colors. When you look at light reflecting on the surface of the water, sometimes it's rosy pink, sometimes it's lavender. Sometimes the sky is a beautiful orange, and sometimes it's a haunting deep blue that is almost turned to black. The realm between is a place of sunlight and shadows and dawn breaking and twilight coming. There are fireflies everywhere. The river runs through the realm from north to south, almost dividing it in half, and the half that is closer to the Shadowfell is darker in hue than the half that is closer to the Feywild. It is a beautiful, unearthly, ethereal place. We have a song that represents it. Hold on 1 second here, and I will show you the closest I can come to the image of the realm between. It's rather haunting. Here. All right. As you arrive at the court of the 8 queens, each of you has a question for the queens. And I would like you to go ahead and introduce us to your character and be thinking about the question that you want to ask the queen. We're going to go ahead and start with you, Matthew.
Like what it looks like first?
Mm-hmm.
So, what?
You can tell us anything you want. Tell us what he looks like. Tell us his name. Tell us what he's there for. Okay.
Kirk is a red Aarakocra. He's about in standards of height, he's about 5'11". He wears chainmail, and he's very tattered, with several different one-sided coins made out of different materials, noticeably displayed in different ways, and he has a very large backpack. And his name is Kirk. Of course, he has a shield and a warhammer and the traditional stuff a usual cleric would wield.
Alright, you have come to the court of the queens and the realm between to ask a question. And when you arrive, you are welcomed by the keeper of the courts and brought into the sort of central location where all of the supplicants wait. And he greets you and welcomes you into the court and asks you what your question is. if you don't know what your question is, you may draw a card. You have a question.
I don't know. So may I please draw a card?
All right. We'll pull that up for you here. Hold on 1 second. You drew the Two of Cups. Which indicates new partnerships, new adventures, new pastimes, new goals, new prospects. So I would say that your question is that you're looking for a partner or a mentor or an employer, someone to give you a new direction, a new goal.
Okay.
All right?
Alright.
Wilde, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, Matthew just pulled a card at random, technically, from your deck, correct?
Right.
And do you just pull the card?
I just turn it over from the top of the deck. In between, while we're talking,
okay.
I'm shuffling the deck like constantly.
I just had maybe a suggestion if it's a random pull.
Uh-huh.
If you know the quantity of cards you have, you can just roll that number, and then that number is the card you pull to make it purely random.
I have done that in the past. There are so many cards that it becomes a 15-minute minutes to count.
I understand. I was thinking that through as I said it, so my apologies.
Yeah, no, it's a great.
Totally naively tried that, and we sat around for 10 minutes in between each card pull. And I was like 18, 24, 32.
In an effort to make it as random as possible, I'm shuffling the cards constantly while we're talking,
Sure.
and then I just pull the top one.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay? Which is as close as I can get to random without rolling a dice type situation and then counting forever and ever.
It's taking forever. It'd be different if we could just reach across the table and, oh, that one.
Yes, yeah. If we could just reach across the table, that would be ideal, but this is the closest I can come to it.
Thank you for hearing me. Sorry for
You bet. So the seneschal of the castle looks at you and says, I see that you're looking for something new and exciting and different. You're looking for possibly a job, possibly a partnership. Well, does that sound right?
Yep, I seek new experiences and quite possibly adventure.
He says, all right, I think that your question very definitely is for the queens. We shall see if they have anything for you. If your question was more personal, more introspective, I would say that your question might be for the lady in the tower. But this one I think is definitely for the queen. So he indicates a chair off to the side of this inner courtyard at the court of the queens. And you are comfortably seated in this peaceful atmosphere. There are plants all around. The room itself is light and airy, and in the center there is a beautiful, entrancing fountain. One that towers over the room, covered with moss. The sound of the fountain fills the room. It is just a peaceful, peaceful place.
Can I go over towards the fountain?
Yes, you may.
Is there anything like in it or like of note?
As you get closer to it, you realize that the fountain itself has a floating globe on the top, which appears to be a representative of the realms, a representation of the realms, and that it is covered by this glowing moss, which has an entrancing scent, sort of a cross between the spicy, herby smell of thyme and the fresh, clean, brisk smell of mint.
take a coin and put it in the well for good luck?
You absolutely may. Would you like to flip a coin and show me the image of the coin that you flipped, please?
Wait, what?
Or I can flip a coin for you, whichever you wish.
I don't have change on me.
I have the Alleyman's coin. Let's go ahead and flip the Alleyman's coin.
Okay, thank you.
All right? All right, so here's the head's image of the coin. We'll go ahead and give that to you first. And that's what the head looks like. And here's the tails image. Yeah, tails is the 17 with the X scratched through it. Okay? So call it. Heads or tails, buddy? Steven's going to flip it for you. Heads or tails?
Tails never fails. Tails.
Put your hand down here. You actually got heads. One. Okay. So with that, you'll flip your coin into the fountain. You say tails never fails, and it lands in the bottom of the fountain heads. And the keeper of the courtyard looks at you and says, maybe things won't turn out quite the way you think they will, but still, heads to say that is a lucky sign.
So be it.
And he gently walks away and says, enjoy your day, sir. The queens will call you when they're ready.
Okay.
And with that, we go to Isla. Isla, this is your second visit to the court. You have been here before with a different group of companions, but you have returned. What is your question that brings you here now, and would you tell us about yourself?
All right. Isla is an Asimar, and very visibly a druid. She's kind of like willowy, like almost too skinny, at around like 5'8", and her dress looks like it's just kind of made of moss. Not that like patches of moss have been stitched together per se, but more like they've been almost like convinced to just hold in the shape of a dress around her body. And her hair is kind of bluish green, like it's like she's been in chlorine for too long. She's got like markings under her eyes. Oh God! Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. There's a siren. Okay, sorry about that. Ambulance or fire truck, and the dogs lose their mind. Right. But she does have like markings kind of under her eyes, going across the bridge of her nose, almost like war paint. But it's almost like glowing, like bioluminescent schmear. And then she does have some like darker markings on her neck that aren't really in a pattern. They're more just like lines that she thought looked cool. And she's, you know, she's been here before, so she's kind of just like going from foot to foot. And when she sees the central, she's like, oh, hello. I don't know if you remember me. I was here a while ago with other people. I met them near the fountain. I actually was hoping I could ask another question.
And he greets you warmly and says, I remember you. You're the one that found the lucky stone in the fountain.
Yes! You do remember. Yes, the little stone. I still have it.
And he says, oh, how wonderful. Yes, of course, anyone can ask a question. That's not a problem. Did you want to see the lady, or did you want to see the queen?
Oh, I was hoping to see... Well, I suppose I would have to see the queen, but my question is more to do with, the wood pillar?
The wooden pillar. In the court of the queens?
Yes.
What about the wooden pillar?
Which is it, and where can I find another one?
Oh, so you want to know the history of the pillar itself. Yeah, no, I think you definitely do need to speak with the Queen of Wands in the court.
Oh, lovely. Do I need to take a card, or do I...
No, you know your question. You know your question. You may take a card if you wish, but there's no reason to unless you wish to for some reason.
But no. I feel like, specifically those cards, I prefer to have them given as gifts. They seem to mean more that way.
Well, in that case, he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out his deck of cards. As you know, he has one. And I will go ahead and show everybody a picture of the seneschal, the keeper of the castle, first. So they know who they're speaking to.
Really, I must get the speaking to him.
Yeah, this is the keeper of the castle. And he draws a card and he hands it to you.
Oh! Here? You know what? Here. And she'll reach into her hair and, like, pull out, like, a slightly budding twig and hand it to him in exchange.
And he says, you know, it's an odd card. Oh, thank you. That is wonderful. Thank you. He says, you know, that is an odd card to be given to you. I don't fully understand the significance. Ordinarily, we say that is the Two of Whips. But in your case, it looks more like the Two of Columns.
Well, it is very pretty.
I think you need to take your card and talk to the Queen about it. I don't really have an interpretation for you at this time. In my interpretation in the past has always been a punishment, either earned or to come. But I think in your case it might mean something different, especially with your inquiry about a column.
Oh, it does have a little bit. Yes, I can see the connection. Oh, thank you so much. I'm just gonna go. No, sit, wait, let you do your job.
All right, thank you. Have a lovely day.
Oh, you too. And she's gonna head over to the fountain.
All right. So with that, you're sort of sitting at the side of the fountain as you see this red Aarakocra contemplating the fountain, having just flipped a coin into it.
Oh, hello. You are very beautiful.
Why, thank you. Why does Lady Luck bring you here?
I guess it was Lady Luck, actually. I think it was more like a complicated situation. You know how it goes with people.
Understandable.
What brings you here?
Adventure, I guess. I don't really know, to be honest. And confused. But I'm excited.
You should be. I've actually been here before. It is really, really exciting. Are you seeing the lady or the queens first?
The Queen, I believe.
Oh, great. We're probably going together then. This is lovely. My name is Isla, and she holds your hand out, but it's not to, like, shake your hand. She's, like, holding her hand out almost as if to ask, like, silent permission to, like, touch your feathers.
Okay.
She's gonna pat you. Alright, I was just petting him now.
Okay. We leave off Isla and Kurt getting to know each other and maybe invading each other's space a little bit. As we welcome Paul to the court of the 8 queens in the realm between. Paul, what brings you to the court today? Would you describe your character? Paul? Can't hear you, buddy.
I lost my mute button. Meta, real quick, if you could. Hello?
Yeah.
Oh. context.
If you can't think of a context by the time you describe your character, and you want to draw a card, we can draw a card for you. If you don't want to draw a card and you're just there because you're puzzled and you don't understand what's going on, you can just be there because you're puzzled.
But where am I at specifically? I'm sorry, I don't know the context of the story at this point of the game, in the beginning, you know what I mean?
Right. Understood. You are in the court of the 8 queens, in the realm between.
Okay.
You have come to the court because you have some sort of question. And you know that questions are answered here.
Okay.
Okay?
Would this be somewhere someone goes as perhaps a pilgrimage to find direction?
Yep. Very much so.
Okay.
Anyone who's from either the Fey realm or the Shadowfell would see this as a place to come for pilgrimage.
You would see about a 6-foot lion, just neatly and just rather plain chainmail. And who is he speaking to?
Nobody yet.
Oh, I thought he was addressed.
No, not yet. You're just stepping to the court.
Okay. So if you're paying attention, you just see him step into this court.
Okay.
He looks kind of dour, and his eyes are maybe adjusting to the dimness coming from outside. Oh, we are outside. Well then, take it away.
Well, as you walk into this refreshing, cool courtyard with the sound of a fountain in the center, the tinkling water of a fountain in the center, the spicy smell of the moss that is growing, the breeze that blows overhead, the sunlight and dappled shadow of the plants growing all around, you find yourself in a very peaceful space. And walking towards you is the keeper of the courtyard, this small childlike man wrapped in orange robes with a sort of balding head, and he comes up to you and he bows towards you and says, "Hello, welcome to the Court of the 8 Queens. How may we help you?"
Is this the one that answers the question?
No, this is the one that asks you what your question is and determines whether you need to see the lady in the tower or whether you need to see the 8 Queens.
Oh, okay. We'll just say, I've come to seek direction.
Ah, worthy purpose indeed. A worthy purpose indeed. I believe that you should see the lady in the tower first, before you see the queens. She can always give you insight.
All right.
All right, and he sends you over towards the tower, and you are met by the keeper of the tower, who is another very well-dressed man, and he holds in his hand scales, and he asks you to tell him your question again, and you tell him that you are seeking direction, and that you see the scales tip sort of one way than the other, and then he looks at the scales and says, "It is worthy," and leads you up a long, spiraling staircase in the tower that is adjacent to the courtyard of the fountain. And up and up and up you go. Now this staircase is spiraling around the inside of this tower. The tower itself is rather dark because it's made of stone. The staircase is somewhat decrepit, a little bit treacherous. There's no handholds. There are candles on the wall, guttered with wax, and the wax has dripped down over the years and formed their own sort of stalagmites across the floor. And it's just, the staircase is a little slippery. And as you climb it, you are conscious of the fact that this is a little bit of a task, a little bit of a daunting thing, and I need you to make a dexterity check, please. I think you can roll athletics. Yeah, make it athletics.
Yeah, just a little side note, you did have us roll athletics when we went up the stairs the first time.
Thank you.
Yes.
Consistency is a good thing. I always like when I find myself consistent.
I mean, I admire your consistency, because I am not.
Sorry, I was muted too. Damn it. I'm probably rolling in the wrong channel, but I rolled 21.
21. Okay. Now you are a Leonin. Keeping your feet is not difficult. So where somebody else might find this a bit of a challenge for you, it's a little bit of an exercise, but it is no challenge whatsoever. If you follow on the heels of this rather enigmatic man with his bald head and his fine clothing, as he leads you into the room at the top of the tower, which is open to the sky above. And oddly, when you look up at the sky, even though it was daytime when you came into the court, what you see is a moonlit night sky complete with stars. And ahead of you see a beautiful woman seated on a rock playing the harp. Just sort of seated on a rock in the middle of this empty room full of starlit night. And he looks at her and says, "Lady, I bring one who wishes to know purpose." And she lays the harp aside and comes forward to greet you. And in her face you see nothing but peace. She has a peaceful expression on her face. It's not happy, not sad, just peaceful. And she greets you, holds your hands, and says,
He would go down on like...
Oh, okay.
He would go down on like one knee, like bowed head.
And she raises you up and says, there's no need to bow before me. I am no one but the lady. I give you answers, and that is all. What is it you come seeking? Do you know?
I do not.
And she looks at you and says, I think we should probably do a little investigation, if that's all right with you.
All right.
And she says, let us see what your cards have for you. What your cards hold.
Pardon, I didn't hear you.
She says, let us see what your cards hold.
He nods.
And she's going to go ahead and pull 3 cards and do a little reading for you. And she looks at you kind of curiously as she pulls these cards. And the first card she pulls is one you're familiar with. You've seen this before. And she looks at it and says, you come from a ruined place. You served a ruined lord.
Oh,
A fallen lord.
yes.
And then she pulls the next card and turns it and says, and I think you feel trapped, possibly betrayed, possibly even cursed. You feel as if everything you believed in or held important no longer applies, and everything you touch and everything around you is changed for the worse. And she looks at you and says, I don't think you are cursed, but I think you feel as if you are. Am I right in that assumption?
Something like that.
And then she turns the card and holds up the last card, and she says, I see in your future a change. And very much a change for the better. Someone comes, someone whom you will choose to be, I don't want to say serve, but I think someone you will choose to be loyal to. That is nothing but blessings. That is nothing but good. That is nothing but good intentions and good outcomes for those around her. And for card purposes, those are the Tower, the Page of Curses, and the Lost Page of Cups.
Got it.
Okay? And so she tells you that where you came from was disaster, and what you feel is oppression and a diminishment and a curse upon you, but that there is a thing coming soon to you, a good thing, something to serve, something to be loyal to, something to believe in.
All right.
All right? So with that, she turns to you and says, I suggest that you see the queens and see if they have a task for you, a quest for you, something that will start you on your journey to finding your patron.
He just looks at her and nods.
And the Page of the Tower, she kisses you on both cheeks, and the Page of the Tower leads you down the stairs and back to the Court of the Queens, where you are left in the tower, in the fountain area, to wait until the queens are receiving their questions.
All right. Cool.
All right. And with that, Blythe, we come to you as you enter the court.
I'm still toying with this voice too, so bear with me.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I love it.
I'm Batman.
Bear with me.
Love it.
I literally just spent like 20 seconds telling Alex how cool I thought your voice was. I was like, he sounds like he's purring. He's a big freaking cat, man.
He's Batman.
He's Batman.
I'll keep working on it.
Oh God, not that deep.
It's hard to do. I gotta nail it.
You look up like metal singing techniques and just use those to like.
Right?
All right, Blythe.
Okay, so, Blythe is a tiefling. She is about 5 foot, take an inch. She has giant ram horns. Her skin is, kind of goldish, and, she's got, very red lips, and, she's wearing a belled sleeve dress that's kind of tight, not tight fitting, but form fitting. And it goes down, it's red, goes down into a black around her ankles. And she walks in, and you see on her shoulder there's a small owl. Probably about the size of your hand, and you see her kind of feeding it some crumbs that she's taken out of a little pouch, and in her other hand that the bird is on, she is kind of using a quarterstaff as she walks, as kind of like an aid. You can't tell with the way that the dress moves, and she's kind of slow moving. but you kind of get the feeling that maybe she's got a leg injury or something's wrong with her left leg.
Okay. And you are greeted by the seneschal of the court as you walk in and says, "Ah, fair lady, why do you come to the court of the queens today?"
Well, I guess it would be, well, I guess I'm seeking answers about, my family curse. So, yeah, I guess that's why I'm here.
Your family has a curse, or you're seeking answers about the curse?
Well, as you can tell, I don't really look like a halfling, but I come from a family of halflings. None of my other kin have horns, so, and I'm very tall, and, well, I'm different, and so I can only assume that it's a curse.
I see. So did you wish to see the queens, or did you wish to see the lady in the tower?
Oh, I guess the one in the tower? Am I correct in believing that she is the one that answers questions?
She can answer questions, and she tries to answer questions. They're not always obvious for her to answer, but she gives you direction, a place to seek your own answers.
I do have a lot of questions. And the queens? I mean, what, if you were in my predicament, what would you do?
I would definitely seek a question of the lady. I would start with the lady in the tower. She will tell you whether or not you need to see the queens.
Okay, we'll start there.
All right. So he leads you over to the keeper of the tower, who leads you up the tower after weighing your question and finding it worthy. And you reach the top of the tower, where you see before you the open room, the starlit sky, the woman sitting in the middle of the room, beautiful in her peacefulness, calmly playing a harp.
Oh, wow, that was quite lovely.
And she looks up at you and says, "Oh, my dear, welcome."
Welcome. I mean, not welcome. Thank you. I'm very nervous.
I can see that. I can also see that questions are sort of bubbling out of you. You have many questions, I believe.
Yes. Well, you see, my outward curse isn't as bad as what I believe myself to be the true curse. My blood is tainted.
Is it?
Well, that's what the whispers say.
And she looks at you and sort of takes your hand in one of hers, and with her other hand reaches up and strokes your cheek and says, "I don't think that you should listen to the whispers. I think you should listen to yourself."
Well, you know, if you hear something often enough, you kind of start to believe it.
Oh, very definitely. That's true of all of us.
Even you?
Oh, absolutely, my dear. Absolutely. It took me many, many years to come to terms with the fact that there are things at work in this world that don't necessarily have answers the first time you meet them, the first time you see. And imagine, if you will, a child born with the ability read answers when they're not apparent?
It would suck to have the answers to the questions that you don't.
To questions you don't know, and to questions people don't know that they have.
I fear, my lady, that you're far more cursed than I find myself then.
I do not feel cursed at all. It was a blessing that took its time to mature. I went through strife and difficulty, of course, but now I am here at the court, and my ability can give solace to many.
Well, then I beg, would you lend me some of your solace?
And she looks at you and says, I feel that we need to probably do a reading for you, my dear, as well.
Okay.
And the first card she lays out for you is strength. And she looks at you and says, this card represents physical strength, yes, but it also represents willpower, inner strength, the strength to be compassionate in the face of persecution, the strength to remain loyal in the face of betrayal, the power within you to be your own person when others would try to shape you into something you're not.
That kind of just sounds like the conversation we just had.
And indeed, which is why I'm not surprised that it showed up.
But you already knew that it would, didn't you?
I had a feeling that something appropriate would show up.
Your cards scare me.
I'll not pretend that they don't scare me occasionally as well. And she shows you the next card. And she says, oh, okay, be prepared. This is the Knight of Swords. She is the bringer of change. She slashes through the extraneous things and rides before you, opening doors, creating change in your world. Everything around you will change, and quickly. Sudden opportunities.
Well, believe it or not, this morning I didn't think that I would be here. So maybe she came early.
Maybe you're already on her path. This is not a single change. This is multiple changes. And the last one she holds up, she hands it to you and says, you should keep this one.
She'll look down at her hand and is it? Oh man, it looks kind of like the universe. I don't get it.
She says, close. It is the alchemical symbol for sun. And although the sun does not shine on my room, it does shine on the court. And when it does, it brings joy. I think that your changes will bring you inner joy, if not complete joy. And I would like you to keep this card to remind yourself that there is joy in the world, even in the darkest times.
Thank you. So very much. Should I visit the queens?
I think that might not be a bad idea. See if they have a quest, an opportunity, something that you can pursue that will bring on your changes that you need, and maybe illustrate the strength and the purpose that you find within yourself a little bit more.
I like that. And yeah, changes are good, right?
They can be very good, yes.
Thank you again. And she will curtsy and she'll turn to the owl and come on, Sanguine. And could I retro in that she had cast Unseen Servant?
Okay, what for what purpose?
To help her down the stairs. Basically.
Well, let's absolutely do that, since I forgot to have you dexterity going up the stairs.
Yeah, which is really good. Which is really good because I've got an unseen servant. He's helping me.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. Yeah, so going down, first she sets the quarterstaff down, and the unseen servants basically, it doesn't say that it's human or otherwise, so basically it's just kind of like a stair lift.
Okay.
And so she puts her arm, like it's a little robot that goes down the stairs that's invisible. And so she puts her arm over the top of it. It's kind of round. And then she puts her staff down, and then her right leg, and then the left leg she swings out a little bit. And it takes her about 3 times the time it takes anybody else to go down the stairs. It's an ordeal for her.
And the seneschal waits patiently and walks with you, leads you down the stairs as you make your way down in possession of your sun card, your joy card. And that will give you... I'm trying to think. Let me roll a dice here, hold on.
Excuse me, Ron.
Uh-huh.
May I... the hiccup, sorry. May I retcon something about my character real quick?
In just a minute. Let me finish with Gullis.
Okay.
Alright. So, as you are contemplating the card and internalizing it, you realize it gives you 5 uses of the Calm Emotions spell.
Nice.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And once it's used, it's used. It doesn't recharge.
Nice.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now go ahead and retcon real quick, like Matt, and then we're going to take a short break while everybody stretches their legs, get something to drink, whatever, and tell me what you think of everything, and then we'll go and meet the queens.
Okay. And then we'll click down tall Eric Croker are. He's not 5'11" or whatever, he's 5 foot flat.
5 foot. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Just wanted to first.
Right.
Okay.
Live, as you're led back to the courtyard of the fountain and waiting to meet the queens, we're going to go ahead and take a short break, and then the seneschal for the queens is going to lead you all in to meet them. So how are we doing, guys? Everybody okay?
Yeah, but I do have a question or two for you.
Of course.
Because, like I said, I haven't had a lot of time to read this character up and research it and kind of look into it. So the Oathbreaker says that basically using this for the purposes of its mechanics, probably, because it says the character has to be evil.
Uh-huh.
But I don't like that.
I don't think it needs to be evil. I think it should be maybe searching.
Something like that. I just think it fits, the mechanics fit the character for now.
Yep.
And I'd like to ask that at some point, perhaps, I could then take another oath.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That Page of Cups card very definitely indicated that.
Okay.
Okay. I'm trying to make the game follow the cards, and when the Page of Cups came up, that screamed at me a new oath for you of some kind.
Well, just reading through the Oathbreaker, and it says a paladin must be evil when at least third level from an Oathbreaker. I'm fine with the third level, but I just don't agree they could become evil. No, somebody
I agree.
familiar with.
Can I make a suggestion, Will?
Well, hold on. With Brandon, the Western show that had Chuck Connors, but he was thrown out of his barracks because they thought that he committed some kind of treason. The character was essentially a paladin, though.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's kind of along them lines.
I'm with you on that. I also ruled that Jazz is an Oathbreaker.
Yeah, yes, the same thing, where it felt, maybe, Matthew, correct me if I'm wrong, where he kind of felt stuck on the evil part.
Yep. And we went to with true neutral.
Right, exactly. I just don't feel like if you're an Oathbreaker paladin, you necessarily would be evil.
Agreed.
Kind of sucks though, because like later abilities like specifically like state that you have to be evil to use them. What's
Well, but see, those are the things where you get with the DM to flavor it or change it slightly, because it works for the character more than sticks to some biblical written rule of that subclass or whatever.
I'm going to go ahead and do a big old meta here into D&D lore and D&D history. Oathbreaker Paladin goes way, way back to, I want to say, 2nd edition or even advanced D&D. And the intentions of it then, way back in the late 70s, early 80s, when all of that was going on, was that it very definitely was an evil break. It was a way for a paladin to reverse their alignment. Alignment meant a lot more back then, and I think it was specifically designed to let a specific player and a specific character participate in an evil campaign. And it has not been rewritten since, and I feel like it's well overdue to be rewritten. It's one of the subclasses that really needs to be modernized, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree, because I just think that the necessity to be evil is that the breaking an oath is irrelevant as to whether you're evil or not.
Right.
Yeah, because I could think of a way for a good character to be.
Right. I think that I go along with an alignment change, but it doesn't necessarily have to be to evil. It could be from being lawful good to neutral good.
I don't even think that an alignment change is necessarily even necessary, so to speak, unless that's part of the character's change, because you just have to have a good reason to break the oath.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely kind of see it oath breaking as being more along the lines of disillusionment and a paradigm shift of previous beliefs, rather than like, oh, I'm deciding to be evil. No, like something in your world just cracked your brain.
Well, sometimes you just fuck up too. For instance, if you're a married couple, one of them cheats, they're not necessarily evil or intending harm to their partner. They may have just fucked up, They broke their oath, though.
I mean, honestly, it's easy to see a made mob man who took an oath to serve the family because he was raised that the mob was the be-all and end-all, and what was good for the mob was good for the family, was good for him. It's easy for him to see him as a paladin and wake up to the realities of how evil and how bad the mob is, swear off the mob, and become a good man.
Right.
Right.
And it's still an oath break.
I mean, it's
a police officer or watch member who crosses their own blue line.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
And essentially, you know, on the other side of that blue line, as an officer of the law, you're probably essentially good. And most of the folks around you are probably essentially good. But there's a line you don't cross if you know someone's doing something bad.
Yeah, I agree.
So for that one super good person that says, hey, no, I'm going to stand up for you, they're going to be cast out. And kind of similar to kind of how my character's playing out, but they're going to be cast out of that goodness to a whole goodness there where they're all by themselves.
Okay, since we're doing meta stuff, quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind if I change my 12 and 13 in strength and dex down to 9s?
Well, it's up to you. I mean, it's your character.
No, I like it like that, because I already set her up for being... Yeah, but also a 12 and a 13 gives me pluses to stuff that I don't want them with.
So then you roll a disadvantage for those things. That just makes sense. Don't take away from your modifier, just roll a disadvantage.
No, it makes sense with the character. She's handicapped, so she's going to have...
That's what disadvantage is for. Do what you want, I'm just making a suggestion.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could let it super disadvantage. It's literally a button.
9s it is.
I'm going to find a way to incorporate that into something I learned to do. Just saying. There's super advantage and super disadvantage.
Yeah. There. Now it's the way I want it.
I don't know. I have never seen that be a part of any core shit, but it's on Beyond.
Because, I mean, having that negative to the stealth when she's using her cane to walk through, like, the swamp, and the negative on the strength, that's going to really go into the character's actual build.
Roll a disadvantage of everything.
That's what I'm saying. Don't take away from your
Because there goes my 20 when I need it.
No. No.
Right, but if it's a disadvantage and you see a 20, you're just like, motherfucker. Nah, I'm not trying to handicap my real self.
But if you break your character,
okay, here we go.
then you have a broken character.
Yeah, don't do that, please. But here we go. Since you're doing that, hey, Wilde, do you mind if I change my strength score from 16 to 18?
I was going to say, I don't like the idea of changing scores going up at all.
Well, it should be the same for going down, I'm just saying. Just roll a disadvantage.
She said.
You can literally remind yourself.
I mean, I tried it before, like, just logic characterization, like, yeah, I don't think my character would actually be good in this situation. Can I please roll a disadvantage?
Yeah, I just think that 9 kind of fit. 9, actually, even an 8 for the dexterity would work, where her strength is like...
Your entire party is begging you to just roll at disadvantage, although they're changing your score.
But if I didn't say anything... What's that, Matthew?
Fun fact. Mathematically, disadvantage is only a -5 rolls, and super disadvantage is like a -12.5, I believe.
So there you go. Just roll a super disadvantage.
You can roll at super disadvantage?
Yeah, you rolled 3 dice.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of elven accuracy.
I have been missing out on some serious, like, I could fuck this thing up right now rolls.
I was just saying that, but I've never seen it in any core stuff, so...
Yeah, most people don't go by it anymore because it was a 4th edition thing.
I
feel like that's for like an Island of Misfit Toys game or a Scooby-Doo game, like rolling at super disadvantage.
Oh my god, for Christmas, man.
I was just saying, I'm gonna run an arena with those options.
Okay, so Gala, what specifically are you trying to diminish?
Dexterity and strength, because she has a really fucked up leg. So she uses her quarterstaff.
I'm going to say that I don't want you to change your stats, because they have a good point about changing it downward and changing it upward. I agree with that. What I'm going to do is, as a DM, I'm going to take that into consideration and tell you when I want you to roll at disadvantage.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Because there will be situations where strength and dex come into it, and you can help remind me when you think it would be an impact type situation. In other words, a dex roll at the end of the day when you're tired out, or, if the terrain, it might be difficult for you, that kind of thing.
Or she can literally just go into the skills she feels as a player and customize her skills so that it puts a little reminder that this is a disadvantage.
Oh, can I say something there?
Of course.
Personal experience. A fucked up leg does not mean the person is weak.
Oh, he's right about that.
Because I have seen my father do some pretty decent things with strength, and he had both his knees replaced.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Her Uncle Randy
He's only got one arm.
His left arm is literally fused at the elbow. If it doesn't bend at all. And the hand is withered. But I tell you what, that motherfucker can build a house.
Go hunting with a shotgun.
On a ladder. He fell one time and hurt the arm, so the top part of the arm is titanium. It's not even bone. And he shaped the titanium into like an L shape.
Coming out of his skin.
And he had to deal with that for like 2 weeks until they had it surgically replaced.
Jeez.
So he goes to the emergency room, right? Because he's like, I broke my arm. He calls him and he's like trying to explain to him that, he's got a metal arm. And they're like, yeah, just come on in. We'll like put a cast on you and send you home. He gets there and they're like, holy shit. We need a surgeon for this. We can't just bend the thing back and, he has no feeling in the arm. If he gets stung by a bee, he could bleed to death because there's no clotting or anything there.
Oh my.
Yeah. And it don't stop him, slow him down or anything. He's out there building shit right now, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dad was the same way.
Nice.
Unless he was tied to a bed, he had to be.
Damn it, Wilde.
Whoa. Was he tied to a bed often?
Depending on if he had surgery or not. I mean, there were times when I threatened to take a 2x4 to the back of his skull to keep him in bed.
Jesus, your game was wild.
Yeah.
For sure, isn't it?
Yeah. If he wasn't working or bed down because of surgery, sometimes he's shit doing stuff like walking about
And he was told not to drive, so what does he do?
Of course, he got it.
Right? Drives himself home from the hospital. Yeah. Yeah. That guy. You know him. You remember him.
Mm-hmm.
You are him.
Yeah. The man just could not sit still and save a life.
I resemble that remark.
Yes, you do. Okay, with that, everybody had a break, got a drink, and ready to go?
Yep.
All right. So you waited around in the court of the fountain, and the afternoon has worn on, and the seneschal of the queens comes in, talks for a moment with the keeper of the court, and makes a gesture over towards your group of, 4 supplicants, and then walks over to you and says, I understand you are the ones that wish to see the queen. And what you see is a woman dressed in plain black clothing with a black veil over her head, and bound around the top of her head with a golden circlet. She is noble in appearance, modest, and extremely, the word is patrician, noble in appearance, noble in bearing. She just inspires confidence when you look at her. You feel like this woman is never flustered by anything or anyone.
Like the patrician.
Right, sort of like the patrician, yes. She walks over to you and says, "I understand you all wish to see the queens. Is that correct?"
Yes, please.
And so she says, "Fine, come with me," and she leads you down this corridor. And the best way I know to describe this is the corridor of mirrors at Versailles. And I don't know if anybody's ever been to or seen pictures of that, but the best way to gather images of it is that it is mirrors on one wall and mirrors and windows on the other. So the hallway is flooded with light. Everywhere you see your own reflections passing by. Everywhere you see splintered reflections of everything else around you. The mirrors catch images and capture images as you walk through them. It's a little disorienting. It's also incredibly beautiful. The floor is patterns of light and shadow as you pass the windows, and the mirrors reflect the light back and forth between the two walls. And the ceiling is gilt, so it glitters with gold, and the light is also reflected and pushed down into the room. From the ceiling, you just appear to be walking in the pathway of light. What, Gala?
Oh, I turned my mouse pad off.
Oh, okay. Got it?
No, not yet.
Okay, you need to take it to the
I can hear.
Okay.
Okay, so say that you have a laptop and you have a touchpad thing and you got it to the tab thing now. Enter's not working. Fuck me. What else could I use? Nope, not the Windows button. That was dumb, Paula. Yeah, I'll be fine. I'm gonna steal Corey's mouse for a minute. That's what I'm gonna do.
Oh, okay. You got it?
Not yet. I'm gonna...
Right.
Okay, so I gotta steal his
You gotta steal my mouse. Don't do that.
Well, I need to, so... And it's too late. I already stole it. I need it for a click. Sabotaging myself.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and take a picture of the seneschal of the ladies and the hall of mirrors. And I need everybody to roll perception, please.
Hold on 1 second, baby. You can't do it yet. Okay, here you go. That was dumb as shit, man. I didn't even think, like, okay, so I'm gonna turn off my mouse, right? And then what? Okay. And what did you say, perception?
Yes, please.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay. Oops.
No,
Nice. But 6.
So you rolled a 6?
Yep.
Okay. So Blythe and Paul, you don't notice anything. Isla, you catch something out of the glint of your eye, the corner of your eye, movement in the mirrors. It does not seem to coincide with the movement of your companions down the hallway. Kurt, you see something with your superior bird-like vision. You see there definitely appears to be something in that mirror, which is not a reflection of one of the people in the hall.
I like investigate or like inspect or like insight it further.
Not insight. You can walk up to the mirror and investigate, or you can talk to the seneschal.
I'd like to walk up to the mirror and investigate.
Okay.
So I roll.
Roll investigation.
Okay. Um, 19.
19. All right. This is what you see in the mirror. You see a stream of strange, eerie characters riding away from you, cavorting and walking away as in a sort of a parade. And a distant, it's almost as if the mirror is a picture or a television type thing that's giving you a show of this parade of characters moving, but it's also a mirror. You still see your own reflection in it.
I like go over to the.
What? Go ahead again.
I'll call over like the rest of the group, like Israel and like everyone else, like try and sew with them.
And the seneschal comes up to you and says, "Oh, you see them? Yeah, they have been interfering with the court lately. I will tell the queens."
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, Isla and Paul and Blythe, he was drawing your attention to these creatures.
No, Isla's using her hands as like horse blinders, and she's just staring at the ground as she tries to like continue walking forward.
Sure, absolutely. Paul, what are you doing? Hold on. I did. Hang on. Oh. You still hear me? Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. He's got zoomies right now, so my apologies. He's interfering with everything, knocked my phone off, everything. He just made a mess. Okay, so yeah, Paul, what are you doing?
I'm probably just kind of staring around.
Okay. So Kirk is drawing your attention to this parade of creatures in the background of this one mirror.
Just looking at it.
Okay, so you're just contemplating it. Blythe, are you doing anything?
So they're messing with the court. Who are they?
The seneschal turns to you and says, they're the Wild Hunt.
What?
The uncontrolled fae?
Oh. What happens if you catch them?
Pray you do not catch them. Anyone who encounters the Wild Hunt is swept up into the hunt and must ride with them.
Oh. kind of like that card that I got earlier. Um, Kirk, was it?
Yes, my name is Kirk.
It's awfully lucky that you found them then. I guess if I would have probably went to touch it.
Yeah.
You must be a very lucky man.
Tomorrow smiles upon me, I guess.
Oh, you should have more confidence. And then she's gonna just kind of turn and hobble back to the line.
I do the same.
Alright, and she leads you into the court. The court is another wide open space, domed this time, not open to the skies, but domed with sort of a skylight type situation over the head, and supported by multiple columns. Isla, you're familiar with this court, you've been here before. Would you like to describe it?
There are columns, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure originally they are like columns that are kind of circling around the main circle of the thrones. But there's a northeastern, or northwest, south, and east columns there are two thrones seated at the base of each of those at the 4 points. And then in the very center, there's like a dais, like a little bit of a raised dais that people can like go and stand on, and they face the queen or queens they want to speak to, but all the queens are like there to observe and hear. But each of the columns is like stupid pretty. You named all the stones. Alex is the jeweler in this family. You can do that part.
Okay, one of the columns is ivory. One of the columns is a black stone that shines, possibly obsidian, possibly hematite. It's carved and it glitters and it shines with the black shimmery color. Another is a beautiful marble column. There's one that it seems to be glow with a red of coral. One that has the shine of opal or pearl. The columns are beautiful. One of them is wood, a fine wood. It looks almost like a tree growing up into the center of the court, from the floor to the ceiling. And as you enter the court, Isla sort of leaves the group and rushes over and hugs that column.
Well, on her way, she's also going to kind of like give like a wave to the Queen of Wands as she's rushing towards the wood column. Like, oh, Queen, I'm so sorry, I have to do this first, you know.
And you get the same, they both, she nods at you and kind of waves a little bit. And you get the same feeling of blessing, of rooted appreciation for life and for the world as you did before. And you also get the feeling that the column is rooted into the court and goes through the ceiling and anchored in the sky.
Lovely column. Truly the best column in the entire world.
And as you make your way into the court, this is what you see. The 8 queens are seated around the dais. You are led to the dais, and as you face the queens, you see at the south the Queen of Ravens and the Queen of Wands, the one that Isla greeted. Now go ahead and put their pictures in. To the west, the Queen of Cups and the Queen of Pentacles, both smiling and greeting you. And they both look pleasant and sweet and beautiful in their own way. north, you see a golden queen holding a flower and what appears to be a cat seated on the throne. And to the east, you see a severe queen that appears to either be a skeleton or wearing a skeleton mask, and a strange-looking, somewhat attractive, motherly-looking woman, but also fearsome. She inspires fear and dread.
Yeah. Her.
And the Queen of Wands, the one that had greeted Isla, looks at you all and says, "Welcome to our court. What may we do for you today?" Isla, do you want to start?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Who was addressing her?
The Queen of Wands.
All right. I'm sitting on the floor in the kitchen and I just had a dick in my face.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Breathe, reset. Okay.
Yep. Thanks, Alex.
Yep. I'm gonna kind of give the tree column one last little like affectionate squeeze, and then she'll kind of rush over to the dais and give like a half curtsy, and then like bow, and then she'll like kind of salute, and then shrug. And I'm not really sure how to greet you, but hello again.
And she says, you greet me specifically or greet all of us?
Oh, all of you, yes. And she'll like turn in a quick circle, like with a wave. All of you.
And she looks at you and says, "Well, there's no need of a formal greeting. A good afternoon, Your Majesties works just fine."
That seems incredibly formal, Your Majesties.
Well, think of it as a title more than anything else.
All right. Well, yes. Hello, Your Majesties. This beautiful red bird man is my new friend Kirk, and I don't know these other two, but I'm quite certain we are probably already friends without knowing it.
Dark waves.
And she looks at the other two and says, she looks at you and says, "Okay, Isla, I'm Kirk. It is lovely to meet you. And you others, Lion Man, what is your name?" Paul. All right. Lovely to meet you. And you, my dear? And she looks at you, Blythe.
I am Blythe. And she'll hold her, she adjusts where she's holding the cane. She holds it up quarterstaff a little bit higher, and she pulls where the red and the black meet, and she'll, as she kind of curtsies, her tail, she hits one of the columns, and she just kind of winces in pain. Oh, it's a pleasure.
Why do you look to be in discomfort? Would a chair help?
No, I'm afraid I wouldn't get up. But I do appreciate it. Thank you.
I do understand. And there is a whispered conversation, and she summons the seneschal, who sends out for a page, and they bring in a specific kind of chair, and it basically amounts to a sedan chair of the old-fashioned style in a court, where you can sit in it, and it has two poles on either side for pages to carry you out afterwards.
This is, and she's kind of confused. She doesn't know if, like, declining it would, be kind of rude, so she'll just kind of sheepishly head towards it to sit down.
And you realize as you sit down that it bobs a little bit and it's floating in the air, and that servants to carry it out won't be needed, but that it will be carried out when you're ready.
This is far too kind. Thank you.
And she says, no, that's fine. That's fine, my dear. We want you to be comfortable. It's important that you are comfortable and that you can tell us why you're here and what you require.
Well, I guess, I don't know which queen to address, so maybe I'll address all of you. I am here, to find out about what I can do to remove this curse, so that if I was to have children, which I don't believe I will, but just in case, I don't want my children to suffer, from my maledictions.
And she looks at you keenly and says, what curse is it that you refer to? The curse of your pain, whatever it is causing you to have disability in walking?
No, this is pretty much of my own doing. The overzealousness of youth. No, the taint of the bloodline, both the type of magic that I have been given, as well as the demons, and she's gonna touch her horns, and then she's gonna lift her tail.
She looks at you and says, my dear, you see this as a curse. Many do not see this as a curse. You are indeed of a bloodline. You are of a family that was touched by one of the lords. This is true. However, did it not give you advantages? Did it not give you abilities that others in your family maybe do not possess?
It gave me a tail and horns, and I am by far the tallest halfling in the village.
And did it not give you magic?
Yes, but at a cost.
All magic has a cost with it.
I believe that you're right. I'm sorry for taking up your time.
No, you have not taken our time. You have come with an honest question, and one that I feel you may discover the answer to, possibly in solving a difficulty that faces the courts, as it were. The person needed for the task arrives with the task we have found in the past. And she goes on and says, forgive me for a moment. I would like you to rest for just a moment while I ask a few questions of your companions, and then we'll come back around to your needs and the requirements thereof.
And she'll put her hand on her knee and lift her dress up just a little bit, and kind of from the shoulders, her neck and head, she kind of bends over a little bit as if she is doing a seated curtsy or bow.
And the Queen of Wands nods at you, walks forward, and looks you in the eye, Kirk, and says, all right, my young, noble, feathered friend, what brings you to the court today?
he does that weird awkward cough thing first, and he starts like repeating a phrase in his head, and then he says, they seek adventure, companionship in this world.
And she looks you square in the eyes and says, you seek adventure and companionship. There is one who seeks an answer for her lifelong troubles and difficulties. If ever there was someone who needed a companion, it is she.
He nods and says thank you.
All right. And she passes on to you, Paul, and looks you in the eye and says, what is it you come for, my good sir?
So Paul's taking this all in. If you're paying attention or look at Paul, like, you think Vera Leonin, he would look like very majestic. Or,
Oh, absolutely.
he doesn't. Yeah. He actually looks kind of broken.
Mm-hmm.
He's listening, but he just strides forward. He's just going to fall down on his knees, but not in like a fealty type of way. Just in a broken way, like you're just going to say, I seek purpose.
And she looks at you gravely and looks at all of the other queens and says,
look at them. He's looking at the floor.
Right. She looks at all the other queens and says, here's one who seeks purpose. You have purpose for him, do you not? And they all assent and agree, and the murmur of agreement just passes around the court, almost like the ayes have it in a committee meeting, if you will. They all 100% support the idea that they have a task, they have a quest that needs doing, and they see you as the answer to their need for an adventurer, someone to achieve a particular quest. And she comes back to you, Isla, and says, my dear, it's not that we're not happy to see you. We understand. You had been here before. You had had your question answered. But why are you here now?
Sorry to waste your time, and I know it kind of is a waste of time, but I realize as much fun as I had adventuring, and I would like to run another one, I really just... I feel like I didn't do the Earth Mother justice. I did my weird things every morning and every night, but something about that wood, whatever that column is made of, I need to know where it came from.
She looks at you and says, in the gloaming, there were two trees. And one was brought here to our court when our court was formed. And one remains in the gloaming. And we feel as a court...
I hug that one. I feel like I feel the other one.
She said, I'm sure that you do. As a court, we have become aware of an awful thing happening in the gloaming. And we have need of a group of people that are willing to go forward and determine what it is that is causing such grief and horrible changes to our realm.
The tree's sick.
And she holds up a card that shows you a picture of the gloaming. I need you to, all of you, make history checks.
Okay. 0.
What are we rolling?
History?
I rolled a 3.
And Isla is probably like quietly crying right now over like the idea that the tree might be in trouble. But that's pretty much all she can do.
A dirty 20.
Okay, and Dog, what'd you roll?
Dirty 19.
All right. So, Isla and Kirk. Wow. Isla and Kirk, you are disturbed by the announcement that there is something causing a problem in the gloaming, and you're even more disturbed by the image on the card that she showed you. Blythe, you and Paul are familiar with the gloaming and realize that it is a part of the realm between that is closer to the Shadowfell off to the east, and that it often has some negative parts and places in it, but that it generally resembles much of the rest of the realm between. It should not look like that card. That card literally shows you that the land is bleeding.
Oh. I don't... the land is hurting. It's... Isla, is it?
Pull her jade pebble out and like hold it really tightly between her hands and start kind of like whispering into her hands. And she's gonna do this for as long as it takes to either confirm or deny that she will or will not hear something from it.
You don't hear anything from the pebble, but the Queen of Wands comes up, takes your hand, folds it around the pebble, and says, "My dear, I know this troubles you, but we do need to speak of these things, so be calmed."
I think usually if I talk to the pebble, I don't, it doesn't talk back, like you said, it doesn't really talk. But, like the Earth Mother kind of gives like a little tickle. But she's not tickling.
Well, maybe that's because she wants you to listen to what is being said around you and take in what your friends are talking about.
Well, obviously we have to go, right? Guys, yes?
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Catman, why are you should get up. You don't have to kneel. They said it wasn't formal. She's gonna like try to pull him up by the elbow.
That's funny, just get up. Oh, and by the way, he would lay this, just kind of lay this sword down in front of him too. Put it away.
Right? And as you're standing there, out of the corner of the court comes a figure dressed in a shadowy kind of cloak coat. He looks rough, sort of bedraggled a little bit, but also like he's supposed to be there. And the queens defer to him. He comes forward and his hands are moving as he speaks. And he talks to you and says, "Yes, something is in the gloaming. Something is causing great fear." And you see that his hands are shuffling cards as he's walking. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to the alleyman. And the queens don't necessarily defer to him, but he just takes up a position as sort of a communicator, someone who facilitates the actions around him. And the Queen of Wands introduces you to him as the alleyman and tells you that he is the caretaker of the court. And he looks at you and he draws a card and he holds it up and he says, "This is what I feel coming from the gloaming. And I would like all of your impressions of that card.
Holy guacamole.
Okay, I'm gonna unmute it so that while I'm looking at it. Oh man, to me it kinda, it feels a little bit like a storm, or, maybe how your brain would, make the storm in a dream, and, hands coming out of the darkness, but it also, the hands kind of look like a spider as well. An alien one-eyed spider crab. So yeah, that's a nightmare for sure.
Okay. Isla, your impressions?
I'm seeing a patchwork of faces and just monstrosities of like morphed creatures together, and her, like, she kind of looks a little bit sick, and she's like, oh, something's perverting everything in the gloaming.
Kirk, your impression?
Like,
Kirk?
I'm thinking.
Okay, you want us to come back to you?
Yeah.
Alright. Paul, your impression?
It's evil reaching out from shadow.
Okay.
It's an evil reaching out from a shimmering, like, shadowy place.
Something reaching out and grasping for things.
Like coming from another, like, dimension maybe, though. It's not quite here, but it's coming.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And back to you, Kirk?
Like,
Huh?
uh, I, like, I guess, like something otherworldly.
Okay. So we have nightmare, perversion, grasping evil from the shadows, and you said something otherworldly? Is that right?
Yeah.
So it's otherworldly.
We just described Cthulhu.
And the alleyman looks at you with interest and says, oh, you know, those are all extraordinarily apropos definitions. The overwhelming impression that I have from this card is fear. I believe that what is blanketing the gloaming right now is fear. And I don't know what is causing it specifically, but I know that it has to do with him, and he draws a third card. And I'll show you that card real quick, like here. title because the title is from the deck that it came from originally, which was a Mayan tarot. But he is known as the King of Flints, or the King of Knives. And he says, I think that he is coming from the Shadowfell into the gloaming and attempting to take over the realm, or at least part of the realm. And that before him comes fear, and that it is distorting our world, our realm. And then he draws a fourth card and he says, if he succeeds, he will break the realm. And he shows you the Broken World card.
Oh, that's pretty heavy.
Who are you, by the way? Thank you for not sneaking up this time. Good to see you. You look well.
He looks at you and says, oh, yes, our little druid. Good to see you again as well.
I'm not little. Yes.
He just smiles appreciatively and gives you a wave out of his hands.
Anyway, and she's going to pull the card that the Central gave her earlier, the two whips, but he said they were more like columns or towers. And she's going to hand it to him and say, the Central gifted that to me earlier, and wasn't quite sure how to read it. You're here, so if you wouldn't mind, if that's not too much trouble. And again, and she's kind of like waving at the queens really quickly, I'm so sorry that I am taking your time up again.
And he looks at you sort of curiously, and then he gives you the reading of the Two of Whips. And I will go ahead and give that for you. I'm sorry, once again, I have not quite got this book memorized, but I'm pretty good on it.
There is over 300 poems, and you almost have more than half of them. I did it. Oh, okay. Yeah, either way, I just, no, like, I'm not gonna ever, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, Wilde.
Yeah.
So, this card really affects Paul a little bit. I mean, if there's a connection, the Broken World.
Ah, okay.
This card really, like, it feels connected now in a way, and a little bit destined to be here even more.
Excellent.
Because just before the event that caused him to break his oath to the entities in which he had his oath, he had a reading done, and this was the final card in that reading.
So you feel very connected now to this realm.
Yes, I'm building backstory.
Oh, right. So I need to keep the realm from breaking.
Well, he sees it as a reflection of his own personal world being broken.
Ah, yes, okay, I see that.
Which set him on a path in which he feels connected now because of this card.
All right, yeah.
Sense of maybe destiny.
I absolutely agree with that reading. That is a wonderful reading.
All
right.
So you back, Dippy?
Yeah. Jesus. So someone who shares a backyard with us, I don't know what side it's coming from, just set off like gunshot firecrackers, and Alex and I both ran for our weapons.
Oh my. And your poor dogs.
Oh yeah, the dogs are, yeah, none of us are happy right now.
Right. Yeah, nobody's happy. That time of year.
Okay. Sorry. I will keep myself muted just in case, unless I have to talk.
No, that's fine. You're fine. All right. So with that, he looks at you rather expectantly, your entire group rather expectantly, and then he looks at the queens and says, "I believe you are right, my lieges. These are the people that have been sent to go into the gloaming, to discover the cause of the fear, and if not to overcome the King of Flints, to bring us back what is the information that is needed to overcome the King of Flints and prevent the breaking of our world."
Oh, and if you already have it marked, I would love to hear the Two of Whips. If you don't have it marked, don't worry about it.
I have it, and he looks at you and he says, "You know, your seneschal told you that he wasn't sure if it was whips or cards."
Oh.
I think it is columns. I think it is both. I think you need to go into the gloaming and find the other tree, the two columns. I think when you find the other tree, you will find a deep connection, a deep purpose, a deep drive, something that connects you even more to the world than you already are. But I also think that this is a signifier and a warning, because the Two of Whips is someone in a place of power who punishes anyone in their way. They thrive on dealing pain, giving pain, and on giving cruelty to anyone and everyone in an effort to make themselves feel more powerful. And if that does not describe our opponent, I don't know what else does. So I think you are fated to go on this trip.
This is lovely. Another adventure. I mean, obviously, terrible circumstances, but adventure.
And he tells you that you, Blythe, should you need the chair, will have it with you. It will be part of the party. And that the following morning, the court will provide a cart and horses to take you to the gloaming and set you on your path into exploring the gloaming. And that you have the night to spend at the Knight's Arms in town, where your rooms are paid for, and where you will be provided food and a comfortable lodging and a comfortable night, and be met the following morning. And he asks you if you agree to all of this. He looks at you, Kirk, and says, "Do you agree to this?"
Absolutely.
And
Lady Luck, I'll smile on us all.
May Lady Luck smile on us all indeed. And he looks at you, Isla, and says, "Do you agree to this?"
Yes.
He looks at you, Paul, and says, "Do you agree to this?"
He just nods.
He looks at you, Blythe, and says, "You, my dear, do you agree to this?"
Yes, your graces are very much appreciated. Thank you.
And he looks at the queens and nods and bows to the queens and says, "We journey to the east tomorrow." And the two terrible queens of the east, the Queen of Swords with her skeletal mask, and the Queen of Bombs with her horrible, repellent appearance of disaster, stand up and bow to you and say, may fortune smile on you indeed." And you are dismissed from the Court of the Queens and allowed to pass out into the city. Night is falling. You have rooms at the Knight's Arms. Is there anything you want to do tonight before we go to the Knight's Arms? The alley man is with you, by the way. Ask Skyla. The alley man is always with you.
The alley man is always with you. Not always watching. He's literally always right next to you.
What's up with this dude?
Huh?
What's up with this dude?
This is the question.
Him? And she's like pointing at the alley man. He's like a
Seems to be
guy, sort of. Like a tour guide who talks a lot and gives tons of insight, but then sometimes he disappears, and then the next thing you know, he's having breakfast directly next to you. And it's very obvious that he was there for at least 20 minutes before you sat down, but for some reason you didn't notice him.
weird. He's pretty chill though.
He's incredibly lovely, just very, very odd.
What are the chances that we all showed up here at once? Specifically for this, would you call it an adventure if death is almost inevitable? Suicide mission, I guess.
Is that the ultimate adventure? I mean, I feel like that's like something. I don't know if I believe it. It's nice.
Well, you only live once, so
Paul would have immediately just made his way to the inn.
Uh-huh.
He went to his room, got off his armor and stuff, and he just spends a lot of time meditating.
Okay. So you have gone to the Knight's Arms, and the innkeeper kind of looked at you as you walked in and said, good afternoon, but you kind of walked past him and walked up the stairs. And as he's
Right.
kind of looking at you like, and the alley man walks in and says, yeah, no, he's one of ours, don't mind him, he just apparently needs to go to his room. And he calls up and says, second door to the left. Tells you which
He's
door to
alive.
enter.
He's a layman of very few words.
Yes. So you enter the second door to the left, which is a room that had been set aside for your party. There are 2 rooms set aside for your party. I'm going to assume that Kirk and Paul are in one room, and that Isla and Blythe are in the other. Unless you guys do
That would run for par for Isla.
right?
She's does she still possess the book? Or the books, I would say. The 2 books that she got, does she still have them?
Yes. You also have a bag of holding.
Okay, yeah, so she absolutely is not sharing a room with a dude.
Yeah. So you have a bag of holding as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. So I'll move that into the other game, but for now you can add it to your inventory. Okay. And just for the purposes of a big old meta reveal and continuity between the 2 games, this is the Knight's Arms Hotel. It is represented by the Knight of Wands, a sign outside with an image of the Knight of Wands, and I'll show it to you. The Knight's Arms Inn. This is kind of painted on a signboard out in front. And inside the innkeeper is the Capuchin, which is known as the Capuchin, which is another word for traitor. And Paul, you would recognize the innkeeper, and this may be why you didn't speak to him, is that he was at one point in time a holy man who very much broke his orders. is a gamekeeper. And while he is known as a traitor, he is also loyal now. And with that, what are the three of you doing as you enter into the Knight's Arms Inn as Paul has gone upstairs to meditate?
Is it just us or are there other people here?
Well, there's other people milling around, not a lot. It's I'm going to say it's a weeknight at the Days Inn.
What kind wants to gamble?
Okay.
For fun.
Just for fun?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you have a seat in the tap room and eat some of the dinner that's provided, pretty soon some card players will come in.
I will do that.
All right.
He'll get out like his he'll get his book backpack and get out like his dice and like cards and coins and etc. in preparation.
All right.
I'll have to go to the bathroom real quick. Sorry.
Okay. Isla, what are you doing as you enter into this familiar room, this familiar inn?
Isla, friendly as always, is gonna kind of like stop by the bar, say hi to Capuchin. You're still working here. It's been a while.
And he looks to you and says, "Oh, my darling, I don't work here. I own the place."
So sorry. That was incredibly condescending of me.
It's fine. It's fine.
Of course you own it. That's why I'm still...
Let me see. Fruit, right?
Yes, please. Fruit? You still don't have a garden, do you?
No, there is no garden, but I have some lovely sangria tonight.
Fine. Just the fruit platter, and if you could, one idea with the fruit. The hot milk, and...
A little what?
A little bit of boiled milk.
I can do that for you. That's not a problem. Funny thing is, no one has ordered that since the last time you were here.
That is so odd. It is really the most delicious morning and nighttime drink.
Did you want some cocoa with it?
No, just the hot milk.
All right, hot milk it is. Coming right up. And he pushes a bowl of food. He pushes a bowl of food at you, and returns to you, Blythe, to ask you what you will have.
The cocoa in boiled milk sounds quite fulfilling. I will have one of those. Would you mind bringing it to the table with the red bird man?
I can do that. Did you want a sandwich of some sort? We have some lovely cheese sandwiches right now.
That sounds very good. Yeah. That would
all right.
be...
So he will bring you a grilled cheese sandwich and some hot cocoa.
And she's gonna go over to the table. Slowly, she's trying not to get winded going there. It's kind of an effort.
It's the end of the day and you're tired.
Yeah, very much so.
Yep.
And when he sets down the sandwich, do you perhaps have anything? I assume that this boiled milk will help me sleep. But maybe, something, a baked potato.
I can do that. I can do that. Or would you rather have, you have the cheese sandwich there. We have like a vegetable dish that we have here at night. That I serve to some people. It's the equivalent of a ratatouille.
Oh, yes, I will try it.
Okay. So he'll bring you a plate of that. And he looks at you, Kirk, rather expectantly and says, "What can I do for you? What kind of food did you want? Don't often serve cookwear in here, so I'm going to ask you what you want."
I think he's still at the store. Oh, there he is.
Back, what happened? I'm sorry.
No, it's just the innkeeper taking the orders for the evening meal, and he just asked you what you wanted.
Is there anything unique? I want to try something different here.
Well, he says, well, your tiefling companion here, she's having a grilled cheese sandwich and some ratatouille. Your druid friend is having some fruit. I can't really tell whether she's having the fruit or smashing the fruit, and some hot milk. Up to you what you want. I've got stew, I've got bread, I can do weird vegetables, I can do fruits. You're in a relatively large town, and it's kind of a cosmopolitan diet here.
Some stew that surprised me.
Surprise stew it is. And he will go back to the back room and rustle around and throw together what amounts to a cioppino, which is, I'm going to surprise you with this, Matt. I don't think you've ever heard of cioppino before.
Never heard of it.
You have heard of it?
I said I've never heard of it.
Never heard of it. Okay. Cioppino is a stew that was invented by the Portuguese fishermen in California, around Monterey. And they literally would go at the end of the day with a bucket to all of the fishermen and say, chip in, and get them to put whatever bycatch they had that they could not sell into the bucket, and then they make a huge bouillabaisse stew out of it. And it is made of many different kinds of West Coast seafood. There is clams and mussels and squid and all different kinds of fish in it. And it's incredibly spicy because it's made with tomatoes and peppers and onions and lots of chili pepper. And it's incredibly delicious. And I miss it terribly.
Okay. Touch that down for sure.
So he will put that in front of you. A big old bowl of really spicy bouillabaisse.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Alright. So you hot dog?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, you were going to say something.
Was this just say while this was going on, would have made his way down to the eating area?
Uh-huh.
And he dressed in white.
Says, uh-huh.
He would have just gone over and found the darkest, loneliest table he could find in the place.
Oh my. You break my heart. Then he walks over to you and says, alright, now, you've had your food. What do you have to eat, sir? Your meal's provided and paid for.
Rice, bread, water.
You don't want anything more? I got some good seafood stew tonight.
No, thank you. Rice, bread, water.
All right. And after a few minutes' work, he brings that to you, and you've got bread, water, and plain rice. He looks at you kind of, this is an odd meal for a cat, but all right, to each his own. So, Isla, you've been provided with a bowl of fruit and hot milk. Blythe, you have grilled cheese sandwiches, ratatouille, and cocoa. Kirk, you have wine and cioppino. And Paul has rice and water and plain bread. As we close out our session with you having an evening meal of your choice in the common room of the Knights Arms Inn, and we will take this up next week with where we go from here.
Sweet.
All right. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I know this is a repeat for a few of you, but I still think it was good.
It's totally different with a more serious character as opposed to the little goblin that I'm playing with the other one.
Right? It is very different. This whole group has a very different feel from the other group.
It's so sad. Rice, milk, rice, water.
Okay, I want to toss an idea at you, Wilde.
Uh-huh.
Since Paul's meditation is broken oath, and he looks broken, before we go further with this idea that I'm having, I want to know if I can switch some abilities